By now you know what you can expect from ESPN Cricinfo Talking Cricket. This is where we toss the clock aside and we just get into long freewheeling conversations of stories from those that have played the game, that have been part of the game at the highest level. So welcome to ESPN Cricinfo Talking Cricket, and I hope my previous guests actually don't listen into this introduction, because rarely do we have someone on this episode or on this podcast that is as good at his Rarely do we have someone, And I hope my previous guests don't listen into the next 5-6 seconds, because this is just my personal opinion, that rarely do I have somebody sitting next to me on these shows who's as good as his cricket at his cricket answer. I hope my previous guests don't get offended by the next 5-6 seconds, because even though I've enjoyed talking to them, here is the unique opportunity where someone who was as good at his cricket is here, who's rarely do I have someone on the show who's just as good at his cricket as he is at talking. This is the 6th attempt that I've managed to get that intro right. Abhinav, Mukund, my friend, welcome to Talking Cricket.
Thank you, Raunak. But as like your previous guest, I am one that actually needs an introduction. And I genuinely believe that why did ESPN Cricinfo call me for this? Because you've had Anil Kumble, you've had Kane Williamson, you didn't have to bother introducing. But generally, I think I have a story to tell, so we might have a little bit of fun for the next hour.
See, that is it. Now, I don't know. You know, this intro that Abhi gave, which was lovely, it took me 8 attempts to get my intro right. Maybe I'm nervous because not only is Abhinav Mukund a test match player for India, but he's now also an acclaimed broadcaster. And I say this with some nerves in my stomach, and now also a presenter. So, trying to kick people like us away, pet pe laat kind of thing. But no, I've had the good fortune of actually getting to know Abhi closely through a little bit of broadcast work that we've done, and I think I can be generous enough to say that this is a good friend of mine.
Of course.
Yeah. And now let's get into the stories itself. I would love to get to the broadcast, but we'll come to that later. I think it's always nice to know how somebody who played for India first fell in love with the game.
Nice. Just like any other kid, I guess, in this country, my dad used to play a little bit of cricket. I used to watch him. I used to go to his club games. He's a very passionate man. Unlike me, who stopped playing at 30, played until 50. So we'll get to the 30 part later. But he played club cricket till he was 50. My mom was an active cricketer. She played for her universities. My dad was my mother's coach at one point, and they fell in love and they got married. So genetically, I was transfusion to play the sport, I guess.
Your mom played cricket for university, and this would be what, around the 80s or
yes, so? Yeah. So she was. So my dad was actually a middle order batter. My mother was the opening batswoman.
Batter, yeah.
Yeah.
Batswoman.
Used to call
that term was batswoman back
then. So she was the opening batter in the family. So yeah, I guess they supported me really well. The one thing that I think a lot of parents or kids watching this, right? No one in India makes it big unless their parents support them. And not what I mean by support is not financial support. You need to be there. You need to be hands-on throwing balls. My dad used to throw 1,000 balls a day at me. So these are things that are mandatory for any parent to actually do for your son to become a very big. I don't know if I'll be able to do it. And now that I'm a father, I don't know if I'll be able to throw 1,000 balls a day. But if you look at stories around Indian cricket and the influence the fathers have had, or a certain particular coach or a mentor or guardian has had, that's very important for you to succeed in our country. And I believe my dad did his best to sort of ingrain me into the early basics of cricket.
So, at this point, I think it's worthy. I'll just change the order a little, because I want to talk a little bit about your dad, if you don't mind. Because T.S. Mukund is somebody who's actually got a story of his own worth telling, and who better than you to share it. Dinesh Karthik, I think, once put out an appreciation for him, calling him a hero without a cape. Tell us a little bit about T.S. Mukund's role beyond just you, so we get an idea of what kind of personality you grew up with when you speak of the importance of parents. In particular, I know that he runs the academy in Chennai, which supports underprivileged, budding, aspiring cricketers, and through the WPL auction in 2024 came a very noticeable success story for him. So just tell us about your dad.
My dad is a bit of a taskmaster. He's a bit of an old school cricket coach. So Nowadays, if you look at cricket coaching, it's about asking the right questions. It's about telling. It's not about telling or enforcing rules to people. My dad was a very strong believer in the discipline part of the game. He was very old school that way, where he would say, even if it's 12 o'clock in the afternoon, he has his nets at 12 in the afternoon, by the way, 12 to 1:30 in the peak summer of Chennai. And the man's now 68 years old. So he still enjoys it with a passion. And now that we're comfortable enough and he's retired from his bank job, he does it for the passion, purely passion. And he takes in kids who are able to sustain the kind of training that he would be able to go through. He doesn't pick kids at random, or he doesn't pick kids who have the money. He just picks kids because he's passionate about developing the next generation of cricketers. That's it. So I enjoy what he does. I go to his academy whenever I'm in Chennai. But that's the thing, he loves putting the younger kids through the paces, be it a boy or a girl. He's got so many of these younger kids who come to him regularly. And I'm glad that he's giving back to the game so much. And his life has been cricket. Right from when he was 18, he played club cricket, he was on the fringes of Tamil Nadu, then he was actively into coaching. Took a break in between just to support my career. But now he's back again, and I think he's really enjoying himself, which I'm very happy for. I think you need to be active at that age also.
Sure.
This helps him really be active, so kudos to him.
And Kirtana Balakrishnan was the player I
Correct,
speak of,
Kirtana.
who came through and got a WPL gig, and this is someone who your father again saw and took under his patronage at the academy.
Correct.
So I've had a number of guests and who talk about how at a fairly early stage of their career, or when they were growing up through school, dad said, I want to make my son a cricketer. And that's how the sort of journey just was focused on. Was that the case for you?
I was very good when I was young. So it was a pretty easy choice for my dad, because even when I was younger, the club that I used to play for, there were other clubs around. If my own club, which was St. Bede's Foundation, didn't participate, other clubs would call me on as a guest player. So I think by the time I was 14 or 15, and I'm not exaggerating, I would have got at least about 80 to 90 hundreds in school and club cricket. So it was a very simple path, even though at one stage I think my mother didn't approve. She said, pursue education, which has come in handy for me possibly in my later half of my life. But it was a no-brainer for me to actually pick up the sport, because I was really good. When I was 13, I was picked for under 15s. I was 15, I was picked for 17, so on and so forth. When I was 16, I was playing under 22 cricket with much older boys. So it was always a natural progression. A lot of people just fall out in that 17, 18 region because you need to pick a career. And luckily for me, I think I got a Ranji call-up at the right time.
Why is it that the education came in handy later?
Because the interest in just reading, the interest in just developing language, understanding history. I think it's very important that you speak well, and I think for my broadcasting career it really helped that I was able to probably get my thoughts in order. So it's really important that you are educated till a certain point, because confidence is also a very important thing. When you're in front of a camera, it's important that, okay, I'm confident enough to say something into the camera. So that really came in handy. I was believe it or not, I never thought I'll have a career in media. So when I was 16, 17, even when I was 28, I didn't even think I would get into commentary or media. It just happened. But I think all of that was through the early years, because my parents pushed me to read a lot, which is why I have a decent command over the language.
Okay, brilliant. I want to talk about just who you looked up to before you actually remember getting into this phase when you got lots and lots of runs. I'd like to believe all these cricketers who end up playing for India, there's an element of God-given talent that you just go and it just turns out right. You stand properly, and people like me on the other end fall on the other side of the wall, where even though you're watching all the best players in the world, it just isn't there. Do you remember a first role model or someone you saw and you thought, "Chal, this is the guy I want to bat like"?
I was so adamant when I was about 5 or 6 years old. I'm a natural right-hander, but I saw Lara batting on TV, and I said I wouldn't bat like anybody else. I want to bat like him. So my dad actually tried very hard to push me to the other side. Till date, I can't bat right-handed. So I looked at Brian Lara and I said, I have to bat
So
left.
literally the first time like you played a proper game, you walked out left-handed, or was there a case of you playing a little bit right-handed, as even in the gully or in the?
There are photos of me when I was about 3, 4, 5 years old where I was batting left-handed. I think my dad just gave up after a point. Okay, you just bat. So it was a case of, I think it coincided with Brian Lara playing in India, playing in the World Cup, and I was just such a huge fan of Brian Lara growing up that it just stuck with me a lot. And my dad used to watch those early morning telecasts or late night telecasts of Brian Lara playing those innings, and just stuck with me that, okay, this is the man I want to bat like.
Yeah, wow.
Tried.
So you right-handed, you throw right-handed. The only thing that was
Left
of a
was
southpaw, and then Brian Lara was the reason.
correct.
Fabulous. As you were making these truckloads of hundreds at age group level cricket, I'm sure at that point, like it would be for a lot of young cricketers that are aspiring to get picked for age group cricket, you start feeling like, yeah, I'm meant for something special. Did that sort of feeling come in at that point?
It would come in spurts because I would like to think I was always the best player in my state side. But then BCCI introduced something called the NCA. And when you go to the NCA, there's a reality check because guys from around the country come and you're thinking, my God, this guy.
Yeah.
So I'll tell you a very funny story because
Please.
the first time there was this NCA, and bless the man, he's passed away, the late Parthasarathi Sharma, he was our batting coach. So childhood years, I'm 14, got truckload of runs, go to the NCA, and they did something called video analysis, right? And in my head, I'm thinking, I'm Lara, right? I'm Lara. And first thing he tells me, I don't think you'll survive in men's cricket because you bat like Chanderpaul. Hit me really.
I mean, it's not really an insult.
It's
but
not really, but just imagine, no offense to Chanderpaul, because the way in which he accumulates his runs and whatnot, but in my head I'm thinking I'm Brian Lara.
Correct.
But then he says you're batting like Chanderpaul, and looking at the other guy, and one other guy is being called Ricky Ponting. Well, I want to be Ponting, why not? So there are about 45-50 kids who come in from all around the country, and some lose their way in the next stage. So I was a regular at these NCA camps, but it was always a reality check of where I stood in terms of the India call-up or Indian junior team selections, because you always looked at your competition and thought, man, this guy is good. And I rubbed into a lot of these guys who've gone on to become legends today. But that's exactly where I was. So I was always very good Tamil Nadu level, South Zone level, but when I went there, it always came back and thought, okay, this is where I need to improve my game.
I'm going to soon come to your under 19 days, but before that, since you mentioned these other boys that came to that academy and suddenly you could put in perspective where you stand with your own game, anyone in particular that you'd like to tell our viewers on who was part of that, or do you remember anyone who made it ahead in that first group?
Lots of guys actually made it. From the south, Manish Pandey was a regular feature from 16 onwards. He played in almost all of the camps. There's another guy who possibly fell out from Tamil Nadu. I don't know where he is. Even Napoleon Einstein was very good at that age. But over and above that, you'd have these spinners who would pick up insane number of wickets, 70 wickets, 80 wickets. But one guy who actually stood out for me, even in those younger day camps, was Bhuvaneshwar Kumar. They were both the same age. And he was a very quiet, unassuming guy, because generally, and I don't mean to stereotype here, but the usually loud ones come from Uttar Pradesh. And you'd find all of these guys being the life of the camp, right? But Bhuvi was a very reserved kind of guy. Sure. But man, he used to make the ball talk. And that stood out for me even at a very young age. Never a big guy for a fast bowler, so you'd probably underestimate a little bit. But he was really good even at that age. Who else? Jadeja stood out from day one. Just naturally gifted athlete. Everybody else had to work hard. I'm not saying Jadeja didn't work hard, but Jadeja was naturally gifted. Like he had that gun arm when he was 17. So these guys stood out, but a lot of these guys actually fell out of national reckoning soon after, because it's a very tough country to actually make the progression to your first class sides. because you're fighting against adults suddenly when you're actually transitioning from boys to men. The transition is the hardest in our country, and that's where a lot of cricketers lose out. Thankfully, there's the IPL today.
I swear. The friendships that you forged at that time, were there any at that particular stage when you started mingling with players from other parts of the country? Of course, I know there are many from your own state. But when you started meeting with different parts of the country, we hear so many times the language can be a barrier sometimes. Cultures can be a barrier sometimes. There's all that. I'm just trying to think of whether you gel instantly the minute you move from state to national.
Yeah, funnily enough, like our first under-19 tour, you're assigned roommates. So for the ODI leg, I was with Jadeja, and he used to bring in all of these Gujarati snacks, which I hadn't heard of then, because obviously you don't travel that much to that part of the world, and you don't know what cultures they come with. So he had an entire suitcase full of Gujarati snacks. And it was in Colombo, so technically I went from home, like Chennai to Colombo. So it was our first tour. Jadeja, at least we used to talk in I was broken Hindi, his broken English. We were still okay. My next roommate was a bit of a challenge, Pradeep Sangwan, and till date we remain good friends. But Sangwan was from Delhi. He's actually from Najafgarh, and he and I became really good friends. I don't know why, because we spoke less, or but it was a character off the field. So
was that your first kind of initiation into
that's when
picking up Hindi?
Yeah, I realized that I need to speak Hindi to survive in this dressing room, because the more the higher you play, if you have an Indian coach, you're going to have your team meetings in Hindi, and you really need to understand or speak the language for you to be a part of the dressing room. That's why India is such a beautiful country, because you have varied cultures, but everyone comes together. The only disadvantage, especially for a Tamilian cricketer, is you need to learn Hindi. I think all of these guys now speak the language really well. All the younger boys have picked it up beautifully.
I mean, I can just tell our viewers now that if we fast forward to 2025, Mukund is also one of our Hindi analysts.
Yeah,
so more than serviceable. Passing marks for sure.
Yeah.
For a good student that you are, right? 2008. It's not like the Under-19 World Cup didn't have profile then. It already had because of previous batches. Today it's taken to a new level, and in many ways we look back, at least in our field in broadcast, and think that the 2008 Under-19 World Cup turned out to be as defining a World Cup as any other at the age group level, as a result of how the 17 years that followed went. But take me through before the explosion, before the IPL, before a Virat Kohli led India side that you were part of, won the World Cup, just what the experience was like playing with these guys now that you reflect after it's all gone down.
Yeah, I'm not a big believer in destiny or fate, but what actually transpired 2 or 3 months before, Tanmay Srivastava had led India for 2 years, till December of 2007. By chance, Virat scored tons of runs. Captaincy was handed to Virat. Just one series before the World Cup. And we did well in that series, and Virat went as captain, and Tanmay was one of our prolific players. He'd been a part of the setup for a while. So it so happened that we were destined to win, Raunak. I don't know. I keep saying I don't believe in it, but if you look at the scorecard, you'll be like, what are you even saying? Because we got 150 in 50, and they needed 130 or 125 in 20 overs. They got very close, but we were meant to win. And it was ironic, because as soon as the game got over, it rained, and what followed after that was just exceptional, because it was also the time when India had won the CB series. We were transported back by one of the Kingfisher airline flights, private, chartered. We had an open top bus parade. And
because this was just about a year after the inaugural T20
World Cup, right? So we were all awarded. So every journalist would come and ask, we got 20 lakhs as prize money. What are you going to do with the 20 lakhs? And everyone's saying, I'm buying a car, I'm buying a house. And but you don't know what's in store for you in the future, right? Personally, I was a bit deflated because I didn't play the entire World Cup. I was waiting for my opportunity, waiting. But the guys that opened were really good. And one day game wasn't as good as at that point of time. So I was very happy to sit out, be a part of that winning, the World Cup winning side. But coming back, the reception that we got was exceptional. And when you win a World Cup, and trust me, whoever's going and playing the next World Cup, it's the fastest and easiest way to scale the grade in Indian cricket. Otherwise, you have to go back to the grind. So I know of my teammates and friends who got into the South Zone squads immediately or India A squads directly. Virat played for India in less than a year. But he was Virat. But the other boys, let's take Jadeja or Sangwan or Manish Pandey, Saurabh Tiwari, they got call-ups into their South Zone squads, Central Zone squads. They immediately got into higher grade of cricket because that's what people think. Okay, this boy has won a World Cup. He's really good. Let's fast track him. And you see that till date. So the next World Cup whoever is going to play, try and focus on winning.
Yeah, I mean, we did an under-19 World Cup just as recently as last year, and there were, I think, about half a dozen players that might have had 1 or 2 first-class games or a few list A games. Post that World Cup, everybody gets called up. So it almost does a little bit of work for state selectors for them.
Correct.
Kuala Lumpur, in particular, though, a unique sort of venue. Malaysia was a unique venue at that time in cricket with not much. Do you remember just how it felt? Being at a not so necessarily a cricket center of the world doing this.
And it was also a very unique tournament because we stayed at a resort with a mall, right? I think it's called Sunway or Sun City, one of those, Sunway I think. Every team was staying, almost all the teams are staying in that hotel.
Was like an Olympic village almost.
Correct. Yeah. So we actually became friends with the other country players who went on to represent their men's.
And there are some damn good players in that World Cup outside of India as well.
Correct. So Kane was there.
Correct. Tim Southee, Steve Smith.
So I know Tim from the under-19 days actually, and then he came on to CSK, and we were already familiar with each other. Steve Smith was there, but we didn't play Australia. We did a couple of tours in South Africa. So the other boys like Parnell and Reza Hendricks and Riley Russo all became really good friends. So I think till date, Pani and Srivatsa Goswami got along really well. When Parnell ended up playing a lot.
Sharing rooms back then?
Yeah. Sharing rooms back then. So
who did you have?
It was actually Einstein and me.
Napoleon
Einstein. But Manish ended up being third wheel.
Oh, really?
I don't know how that ended up because Srivatsa was always outside. Srivatsa and Manish were roommates and almost always ended up with Manish in our room half the time. But it was all in the same corridor, you see. So everyone were just talking to each other. But I'm glad everyone's doing well for themselves now. So it's a good thing. But we're still in touch. We have a nice WhatsApp group that you keep in touch.
There is still an under-19 2008 WhatsApp group.
Yeah.
And your captain still part of it?
Captain was part of it. He used to be active during COVID. I don't know if he's part of it still. But yeah, we keep in touch whenever like someone achieves something. Like 2 of the boys became umpires. So events or something like this. Saurabh Tiwari became a member of JSCA. So all of these events are sort of catalogued and you just congratulate them, wishing happy birthday wishes, stuff like that.
Superb. That's really nice to hear. Not like I want to sort of spend too much time because we all know how Virat Kohli's career went. But just at that time, that would have been somebody, whether there was an impression made as an under-19 captain or at that level, is it more the coach?
At that level, it's more the coach, a little bit of the coach, but he was always very instinctive and aggressive. He was ultra aggressive even back then, and he would go on to the field to win. Personally, I always thought, will he be able to sustain this in international cricket? Because he was so wound up all the time. He was very aggressive, and I always believed that he would play to win, and he would actually put on a game face. And you felt that from the younger age itself. I always felt that he was meant for bigger things. He was so driven as a person and as a cricketer. And he would want to be the best at everything. Anything he does. Even drinking this coffee mug or something like that, right? Be like, okay, I drink this better than you. And that's the sort of person that he was. But I think we've had our run-ins from then till even now, so much has changed. Me, him, I think life happened to us. So back then, he was this aggressive guy who would not want to lose a single game of cricket.
How did you all celebrate the win? Just before I move forward, do you remember?
Yeah, we have this nice photo that keeps circulating. We all drank orange juice.
Yeah, really?
Yeah.
You're not censoring this.
No, I am not. I genuinely am not. But we ended up partying till about 3 or 4 in the morning. But I ended up drinking orange juice all night.
That was enough to.
That was enough. We were already buzzing and flying, and it was.
You came back in a Kingfisher airline, but drank orange juice.
Orange juice again.
Okay, you didn't. As you mentioned, you didn't get to play in that tournament. So I'm sure you were itching to get runs, and the full force of that frustration was felt in your next Ranji game by the opposition, because then came, I think, the epic 462 run stand. Right after the World Cup, was it?
Yeah. So then the IPL happened, right? So March of 2008 was the World Cup, and this was in November 2008. I'd already played a season of Ranji.
Yeah.
But like I said, that 20 lakhs, the first thing that I did was not buy a car, not buy a house. The first thing I did was go and give a check to Mr. Basu. Because I told him, the other boys, especially from the northern part of the country, are way stronger than I am. I'm not able to compete with them because I'm not powerful. Make me stronger. Tell me what I need to do to become
Shankar Basu.
Shankar Basu. And I trained solid for about 2 months, 3 months, felt good, played club cricket, got lots of runs. And by the time I hit the Ranji season, I knew exactly. And it was also a culmination of other guys coming in who were also keen to get into the Indian side. Like Badri was on the fringes. DK was making a comeback he was trying to make a comeback because he was dropped after a couple of bad series. Murli Vijay was also in the reckoning. So there were so many guys who wanted to be a part of the Indian side that actually drove a lot of our younger boys. So it just happened that Vijay and I just started batting in Nasik. Batting, went on batting. And I was 250 odd at lunch on day 2. And Raman and DK came to me and said, we'll give you an hour to get to your 300. Got it in 45 minutes and just walked off nicely. One of my most memorable innings. But again, I owe it a lot to the fitness and the 4 months of hectic preparation that I made before that season.
At the under-19 level itself, you were reflective. Would you call yourself someone like that who was quite harsh, maybe a strong word, but certainly self-critical? Okay, this is what I need to do. This is where I'm missing out. Which is not necessarily something you'd associate with every teenager.
True.
So at that point, when you say you came back from the under-19 World Cup and your first priority, instead of spending that like a normal teenager on something flamboyant,
correct.
Would I be accurate in saying that you were sort of very, very self-critical at that time?
It was the upbringing also, right? And it was also the disappointment of not playing the World Cup. My parents refused to allow me to splurge on anything.
Yeah, your dad had a bank job, you would have probably said nice little FD or something.
Yeah, that's true. But it was almost as if like most of the people from my part of the country were raised like that.
Sure.
But it also hurt me somewhere that I wasn't as strong as these boys. I wasn't as fit as these boys, that I wanted to make a solid change because I needed to compete. I had to go back to the grind of first class cricket. There was no fast track for me.
Yeah.
So that way I felt me joining a gym, because you had your gyms or you had your trainers as teams, right? But there was no concept of a personal trainer back then.
Yeah.
So I just hired one and ended up those actually reflected in my game for the next 2 or 3 years.
My point is, this was a decision you came to yourself.
Yes,
It's driven by you. It wasn't your dad or your coach at home saying, you know what, these guys have more power, so let's do this for you. At many times you want someone.
I remember Basu telling me at that point, at 17, go bring your mother or father, are you allowed to spend this money? Because he had no idea. He was like, what are you doing? It was expensive at that.
I was just going to ask you, how much did Basu charge?
It was expensive. He was training all South Indian Tamil film celebrities at that point.
Right.
So it was very expensive at that point. So he's like, are you sure you want to spend this money on me? I was like, I'm very sure.
So it was clearly an investment.
Yeah.
Because about less than 2.5 years later or so came the dream.
Yeah, true. And it didn't come easy. It ended up after tons and tons and tons of runs in Ranji cricket.
There's
And
about 860 odd runs in a season, I think, wasn't there?
Yeah, and it just came because I felt those years that preceded it, every year I would get 200s or 300s, and it was just 3 years of consistent runs. I was averaging about 50 in first class cricket, and it was a natural progression. Gambhir and Sehwag were given a break after that, and I was the first choice because I'd already toured India A. We had already done a couple of tours, and it was just a natural progression, I guess.
The message came how that you're going to be playing?
I knew on the flight because weirdly enough, the ODI and T20 team were already there in the Caribbean. So my first ever flight, so it was me, Lakshman, Dravid, Dhoni, Oja. Imagine that.
Economy?
No, of course not. No, like business class flights.
Ah, okay.
Just 5 of us. And we missed the flight, I think, from London to London to Gatwick. You had to make a Heathrow to Gatwick. You had to make a transfer. So we missed a flight. We ended up going to Kingston, Jamaica, just 2 days before the game. And Rahul Bhai and Lachi Bhai were in their own zone of, oh, we know how to do this. Lachi Bhai, I remember, didn't even bat because the nets were so bad. I'm thinking, man, Duke's ball, I don't even know how Jamaica is going to play, and massive jet lag as well. So I was very nervous, but looking back at it, that's one of my regrets. I wish we had time to prepare for that tour.
Sure. You had 2 more debutants with you, or rather, 2 more players who were called up for the first time.
Correct. Virat and Praveen Kumar. But they were already there. And the good part for me was that was the one guy who I knew well enough before, like all these stalwarts in the dressing room. The first person I went to was Virat. Yaar, kya chal raha hai bhai?
So there
what's
was a
happening?
comfort.
There was a comfort of seeing him and just asking him what's happening. It's also a comfort of Murli Vijay being there at that point. He was my opening partner for the tour. I played with him a lot, so I'd actually called upon these resources and asked them, how are the conditions here, how are things playing, how's their team looking. Usually you've been to West Indies, you've been playing here for the last month, tell me how it is, and stuff like that. So exchanging notes was a big relief.
You were already playing a heck of a lot of first class cricket by the time that call up came, but even then, I mean, that was a star-studded Indian team, with that golden generation that sat in that business class row along with you, as you mentioned. Do you recall how you felt when you first kind of shared space with them in the same team? I mean, there would have been interactions, I'm sure, before that, but was it sort of intimidating? Was it awe-inspiring? Was it also at the same time nervous with all these guys?
It was a little bit intimidating, but I guess just like any other team, when you start mingling with them, you sort of look at them as human beings again, because everyone's in their own zone to prepare. Everyone's trying to be the best version of themselves, and that's where I felt the more you look at these guys and the more humanized they become, if you know what I mean, in the sense where you look at them from afar, you're always thinking, my God, they are your heroes and role models. But I mean this in a very positive way by saying, they have their insecurities too. They have their fights, their battles, they wage it within themselves. The reason why they're so good is they're able to get past all of that and become the legends that they were. And I enjoyed playing in that team for whatever it's worth.
I'm going to now sort of talk about your international career in one aspect over here, because it had many ups and downs, which you can now reflect on in a mature way. And I'm sure now we've already established you're someone who was quite hard on himself.
Yeah.
Right. And then came a very unique journey of you getting runs, at times still not being picked, multiple openers, all of whom came in and sort of either cut the queue, or then once they established themselves, there was very little you could do to get a place ahead of them. There was an IPL non-selection that came as well, which I'm sure you had your hopes up for. You've spoken to us at ESPN Cricinfo a lot on these things through the years. I wanted to kind of encapsulate it all these years later now, what you sort of truly felt like back then and how it feels today, if you have to talk about your career.
Even when I was dropped in 2011, I felt I could have got, ironically, we're just before a West Indies series. It was the West Indies series that was due and I wasn't selected for it. But my numbers before that were 100 in a warm-up game in England. After the 2 tests, there was a tour game. I got 100 against North Ants. I got a 100 in an Irani Trophy game right after we came back, rest of India against Mumbai, I think. And then my first Ranji game was a double 100. And then the selection happened, I wasn't selected. So I was very disappointed. And 2 games later, I got another double 100, hoping I'd go to Australia. And then I lost it because no matter how many runs you get, suddenly people are telling me, oh, you're not good for overseas conditions, you're not good for ball that bounces, swings, this, that. I'm like, okay, maybe I need to change my technique. So the overthinker in me starts and I try to break my game down, change it, change my technique, change my initial movement, although I was still getting runs. But looking back at it, that's the only thing I would like to tell my 21-year-old version of myself. I should have trusted my game a lot more.
Sure.
Just continue to score those runs. But that's when the lull happened because I'd played a certain way for 15 years.
I want to go deeper into this because this is a story that is still being seen even in 2025. This thing of players that are prolific run scorers, but the eye test, depending on whose eye it is, the eye test they don't pass. That, oh, you have this game and all, you get runs here, you won't get runs there, you won't get runs over there. And we tend to think, okay, that's fair, that's their opinion, that's the judgment of the people that make selection calls or have to decide. But on the other side of it, that is a shattering almost verdict to crush somebody's dreams or instill perhaps self-doubt, where your game which has worked for you suddenly change it and whatnot. So I mean it's more severe personally, isn't it?
It is. And when first things first, you try and adjust yourself mentally, because somehow with whatever technique you have, you're scoring runs consistently. It makes you doubt your technique. When doubt creeps into batting, it's a reactionary sport. You're reacting to the ball beautifully, you're scoring runs. But when you're thinking, you're not reacting, you're thinking. You shouldn't be thinking, you should just play the ball. But what happens is, oh, is my leg moving the right direction? Is my head in position? Are my hands in the right place? Am I actually getting to the pitch of the ball? Am I leaving the right ball? You don't think it when you're getting runs. Ask any cricketer. They'll do it. But when you start thinking about it, when you're making adjustments to it in the middle of a season or in the middle of 2 seasons, thinking, oh my God, Stuart Broad got me out like this. Okay, let me try and play like how I shouldn't have got out. And then you're struggling against your domestic bowlers who I've been scoring consistently so much. So all of these thoughts, all of these doubts creep in. You start losing your love for the game because you're not playing the way you're supposed to. What worked for me after that was I went back to whatever I was doing.
I'm going to just quote an interview you gave ESPN Cricinfo in 2016, where you said you were caught in a mix of just trying to get back constantly into the team. And to be honest, till you played, this is Abhinav Mukund saying, to be honest, till I played for the country, I wanted to play for the country, but I never played for that. I always played to perform. I always played to win each game and do well for my team in each game. My expectations changed of myself. And there was a 12-13 season that was a complete blur. This is that.
What a profound young man. Not really, man. I really struggled during those years. I genuinely struggled. And if I didn't have the support of my parents, I would have really struggled.
I can imagine. How would you have liked that phase to have played out differently? Even if it was the same set of facts, if you have to think of it right now. Maybe what you sort of are feeling now, there could be budding cricketers or even first-class cricketers that might feel the same way.
I wish someone actually put an arm around me and said, take a break. Take a break, go somewhere, do something different and come back. Like, just go and enjoy your game. Don't worry about selection. Don't worry about this. Don't worry about that. I had few very good friends in Tamil Nadu who were there, but they were all similar age groups and still
fellow cricketers.
But what I really genuinely lacked was someone telling me, don't try all of these things. Don't go back to the drawing board unnecessarily. You're batting well. But and that's the thing about coming from a very cricket passionate state like Tamil Nadu. Anywhere on the street, anyone will have an opinion on your game. On your game alone. Why are you playing across? Why are you going outside off stump? And they will have a solid opinion. Yeah. Oh, in that test, you should have actually left the ball. Yeah. And it will all get to you at some point. And the best thing that happened to me was I went away to England. And I didn't do anything great there. I just went and stayed there for 4-5 months, played club cricket. The Indian team was there at that point. So I was thinking, wow, from second 11 carrying drinks to 3 years before us playing at Lords, how far have I come in life? Like, so this is the bottommost pit that I could get into. But that changed me, I guess. That like, okay, I have nothing to lose after this.
You did share at that time that you also took that path eventually, where you took some time off. I believe you learned a new language.
Yeah.
Tried surfing.
Surfing, yeah, I enjoy surfing. I actually enjoy the waters. Till date, wherever I go, I try to get a beach holiday. Now that I'm married, my wife likes the mountains, but so it's
It's the other way around for me. I'm a mountain person. My wife loves the
oh
beaches.
yeah, so you know how these sort of things work. But I'm a coastal guy. I enjoy the beach. So yeah, I did do all of that to sort of get away from the game, and I was criticized for it because, like I said, in Tamil Nadu, instead of going back to the gym or going back to the nets, why is this guy doing this? And that was so important for me, I felt, because I was just burnt out, I guess. That is something that I would actually ask anyone who feels that, because you are trying so hard every day of the year, and suddenly when you don't get things right, you try even harder and you make mistakes.
I find that to be a very unfortunate byproduct of sport, that the care that you should give mental health or even respect that you should give is sometimes also associated with not having the temperament to play high pressure sport. You know, that and all the machismo that is attached to a male sport, especially a sport like cricket. I mean, you'd love to be able to tell your coach, just need a break, you know, feeling burnt out, getting to me. But your coach could have completely different interpretations of it. You know, this guy's not tough enough, strong enough. There's another fellow over there who's similar, and look how he's come back and whatnot. Do you sense that remains a concern with the sport?
Not anymore. It's gotten a lot better now. It's changing now. I genuinely hope it's changing for the better. Now that you've got even technology to tell you that how stressed or how burnt out you are, it should be a lot more easier. But if someone needs a break, genuinely they need a break, and we should be okay with it, because I always bring this analogy for cricket, right? You prepare your best. You end up like in an exam, you study well, you work really hard, you'll get 90 marks or 95 marks out of 100. In cricket, you work really hard, you're not going to get 100. You might nick off first ball. The umpire might just give you out without a DRS. So you're just out. You're sitting the whole day in the dressing room. So I always believe that it's really important for players if they feel they need to take a break. And it's their call because they're all professionals. This is their job. So why would they want to take a break? They're not trying to get away from anything.
Who do you have to thank from that phase, that really dark phase when you felt like, you know, they can't go any lower from here? Who was it that sort of really helped, and how?
My parents really helped me. Because I went up to my dad and said, I don't want to play the game anymore. And he said, okay. Which I didn't expect, because that was the conversation I was struggling to have. But I think over and above that, I have a friend in England who really helped me, because I was staying with him at that point, and he would just take me to just randomly went and did an MMA lesson, went and watched the F1, did random things, then came back. I was asked to play the Buchi Babu, and luckily enough, I had a lot of friends like Ash or DK or anyone who I could call at that point. I had Malolan who was also there with me. So all of these guys were very integral in just saying, okay, just do what you can, man. Just chill out, just enjoy your game. So it was nice to have a good set of people around at that point of time. But I know the people who were there with me during that phase. They're still there with me today.
The state helped at that time, or the state presented a new form of challenges after having already played for India? Because there's going to be another stint with the Indian team coming up, but in the middle of all that was, you know, your state cricket at that time. And I think you have said somewhere how sometimes that can be a different kind of point that goes against you, where you've played for India, there are certain expectations from the state. And just take me through that sort of process.
Yeah, so I had a horrific season in 2012, and it actually happened after the year we went to the finals. 2011 we went to the finals of the Ranji Trophy. So 2012 there were unnecessary changes in and around the setup. There was a change in coaching staff, and then after that I was dropped the next year for the one-day set of things. When that is actually one of my biggest regrets, is I felt I should have played ODI cricket for India, but let's get to that later. I never actually say this, but 2010, 2011 were our best years in ODI cricket, list A cricket. We were unbeatable as a side, Tamil Nadu. We beat the best of opposition and we beat them comfortably. So right after that, 2013, I was dropped from the one-day side. So suddenly from January, and then I was dropped, I wasn't picked up in the IPL. From January till August, I had nothing to do. Imagine you're a full-time cricketer, 7 months of the year you're jobless. What do you do?
And of course, IPL was just not something that was going for you at that time.
Correct. So I felt that maybe now things have changed in this. There wasn't much social media also back then. I think things have changed a little bit now. I'm hoping it has. But at that point in time, I don't think state associations were very supportive of this. But after that, a lot has changed in terms of how they manage their players well.
When you called back also for Sri Lanka, that was good, pretty good comeback.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, because again, 2016 I ended up scoring a lot of runs. 2015 I had a really good year. So it was just again a culmination of getting a lot of runs and getting back into the scheme of things. And a lot of people thought I was actually the third opener in that series, actually the second opener in that series. Unfortunately for me, the opening partner wasn't even supposed to play in that game. KL Rahul had dengue. Vijay was injured, so it was actually Vijay and KL who had to open, and I was the third opener. Vijay was ruled out, KL had dengue, Shikhar was called in, and he got 190. What can I do? I got 81 in the second innings, and I think
it's not a bad final innings to have, as it turns out. Might rank quite high up there. Last innings for India was an 81.
True.
You look back at it now with contentment, or is there still that slight regret that, oh, you know what, life could have been fairer to me, or is it, got what I got?
No, Raunak, I have absolutely zero regrets about my career. Like I said, the only regret I have is I should have played ODI cricket for India, but that is again said in jest. But the whole journey for me, I genuinely believe with the talent that I had, and I maximized my talent and I made the best out of it. So I was very happy. I was very content even when I retired. A lot of people till date ask me, even your producer of the show asked me, you're just 35, why did you retire at 30? In fact, my biggest compliment I'll tell you, from Wasim Jafar. He said, I thought you're the only guy who's going to break my record of the most runs. He said, you were very young and you had already got 10,000 plus, just 8 more, you should have played. And I said, no, Wasim bhai, I was done. I just wanted a new challenge in life, so I was done.
Mumbai boys are only obsessed with the records. I should have brought this up with Wasim. He was on the episode just before you. It's not like everything was just over at that time, because there's a new experience coming up in your life in the form of the TNPL.
True. TNPL was such a good thing to happen to Tamil Nadu cricket. And I believe that state-run leagues have their place in this day and age, because you have a lot more people watching it on national television. You've got guys who are playing under lights for the first time, and we won the inaugural year with the 2T Patriots. So there was DK, there was me, there was Bala. We picked really well in the draft system that was there at that point. Washington Sundar was part of the side. He was a young man, he was 16 years old, I think, at that point. His first taste of the big stage, and he just progressed into India under 19. Then he came back to play for Tamil Nadu. So I enjoy the TNPL. I think it's a great tournament till date. It's been run really well. But at that stage, it was a great platform for all of us to go and express ourselves on national television.
And you enjoyed playing with DK, I think, at that time. He was your captain?
Correct. DK was the captain. And
it's been a fun captain, no, DK?
I mean, yeah, I've played a lot under his captaincy. So I think our journeys also have evolved from way back in 2008, where he came in as captain, and it was a very captain opening batter relationship, to then it evolved into a much larger friendship, where it went where we could discuss anything under the sun, and that's what happens when you're part of a team for a very long time. So you could discuss your deepest, darkest secrets with a certain players in the team, and I think DK was one of those. So it's very, it's a relationship that goes on well till this day.
You did go back to finish off your first class career while the TNPL had also taken off, and you finished with some incredible numbers. I mean, you had 86, 206 and 100 for Tamil Nadu. I believe there's an interesting story surrounding your retirement.
So, I don't know what it was, Raunak. It just, like I said, I've always believed in challenges, right? So, there was a game which we were almost going to be relegated, and we were playing Railways at home, and it was a rank turner that they made, and it was my 100th Ranji Trophy game. So there was a big felicitation and all of that, and somehow I just thought, okay, what have I not done? I've never played with complete freedom. So I got 100 in a session. From lunch to tea, and reverse sweeps and scoops and everything, 100 in a session, walk out, my entire family, wife, because it was my 100th game, everybody, my friends, everybody had come watching. Then I went to Moti Bagh, and I think it's one of my most memorable hundreds, or double hundreds till date. The team got about 340, 350, I think, maybe more, but I got a double hundred in 240 balls, if I remember, or very close to that, and it was one of my, it was till date will rank as one of my top 5 Ranji innings or top 5 innings overall. Because to get a double hundred in Moti Bagh, people who've been around the circuit will understand, it's one of the toughest places to get even 100. And then I got 86 against Saurashtra, the champions. And somehow it felt like I wasn't doing myself justice by just carrying on. I was able to get runs, and this is not me being cocky. This is me who knows how much I've struggled to get runs earlier. I was just getting runs for fun. I needed a challenge, and I didn't know where to go for it. Because I'd played Ranji for 15 years, and somehow commentary happened, and then I felt those nerves again with those lights and the countdowns and calling the moments, and somehow it was more of a challenge, so I thought I'd pursue that.
I mean, I like how sort of all this has kind of been stitched in its ways. You'll make for a good book, one day, Abhi. Still chapters to write, perhaps.
Yeah, getting there.
You said DK became one of your closest friends. What about Ashwin? I mean, the three of you, your careers were kind of
Ashwin
overlapping.
Ashwin and I actually were in the same school, and he was much younger than DK, like a couple of years younger to DK. So Ashwin and I go a long way back, and I can't say Ashwin's my closest friend, but I will say this. Ashwin's career has hugely impacted mine, because the way in which he was driven to achieve things, and you need driven people in a dressing room to sort of get the entire team going. He genuinely inspired me as a senior player at that point, and he was always there. So the thing with Ashwin is he's always reachable. Very, very rarely do you find those, like, I know he's on social media and YouTube nowadays, and he's reachable to everyone now, but back in the day it was just a phone call away, and it would be a very normal phone. Oh yeah, this, yeah, that's it. And it would just be that. We're never very close friends, but we were very close acquaintances, I can put it that way. I think Ash and I, we were roommates initial part of our Ranji career.
Was he a fun roommate?
I was always complaining about it.
You were always complaining.
I was complaining because I was an early sleeper. I was one of those good boys, early sleepers. Ashwin would watch, there's a very famous, there's a channel, the sister network of Sun TV. They would play their movies at 8 p.m. My sleep time was 9:30. And he would watch that movie till 11. And the room would be really cold, and pull his blanket up, and he would watch the movie loudly till about 10:30. I'd be, Ash, please switch it off. But yeah, but Ash, but that was his routine. He would write all of these things beforehand, and he would be ready for the game, but he needs his nighttime movie before. That's why he's such a big movie buff.
I actually, when you made that earlier point about how you used to critically analyze yourself even at a young age, a first person who spoke about that when I sort of had an interview with him was Ashwin back in 2015-16, and he's I think said this a few times of how extreme self-analysis and reflection was. If he wasn't happy or he felt he didn't do something right, he used to literally lock himself up in a room for days, and and now he of course as a more mature and older man says that was really harsh on that younger version.
Yeah, I guess we grew up in similar backgrounds. We went to similar academies, same sort of upbringing. And it makes you sort of an overthinker, right? Like I'm sure you would have experienced the same thing in a much larger scale than what I did perhaps, because everyone around him would have been like, why are you tossing the ball up? Why are you bowling so many carom balls? And somehow that would have also impacted him in a big way. I'm sure if I talk to him now that he's retired from all formats, I should have a conversation with him about it, his younger days. But this was a very strong cultural thing that Tamil Nadu is actually very proud of, to be honest.
Yeah. Before Ashwin jumps in, I will quickly say from Indian cricket, I think all formats.
Oh yeah.
Just
correct.
making sure otherwise.
Yeah.
Ash will be the first one to say.
Correct me.
Yeah. All right. It's very. I feel. I have a lot of. I'm genuinely saying this, not because you're my friend and because you're 2 feet away from me, but I have a lot of admiration and respect for you when I kind of look at the phase of your active career, how Indian cricket exploded in that time, and yet the challenges that a player who was by and large purely a red ball player through those phases, it's manifesting itself in different forms now, but the challenges must have been so much more severe at that time for you, including a phase post-pandemic or around the pandemic for domestic players.
True, and the financial implications of it was also another reason why I was pushed into broadcasting, because there was IPL began first, and then there was the domestic season after that, which was the next year. 1 year it didn't happen, but again, for a person who doesn't play in the IPL, what are your go-to? You could get into coaching, you could do something else, but there are not many opportunities. Lucky to be handed that call up at that point for Tamil commentary, but it so happened that I was made to think about the financial implications of it a lot more, because by the time I was married and I had a very young son at that point. So then what do? You're pushed to doing something out of the ordinary. A lot of people start thinking about it at that point in time. But I was always very clear about one thing, Raunak. I was very clear that I don't want to keep my feet in 2 places. Till date, I follow that rule very well. I have not got into coaching because I have given my entire commitment to broadcasting.
Sure.
And that time also I felt if I did end up broadcasting, which I actually did for a couple of years just prior to that, just for the IPL. And then I would come back, I would train, and I would get back into the Ranji scheme of things. So I realized I wasn't doing myself justice to either fields. So I said, okay. And a lot of my teammates didn't believe me. I remember telling Jadeja in that Baroda game, I think I'm done, dude. And he's like, you're joking. You just got a double 100, you're joking. And I said, no, I feel I'm done. I told Jaggi or Sai Kishore or one of these guys, and they were shocked. I said, no, I think I'm done. And I felt it. I genuinely felt I was done. And I needed a new challenge in life. And I felt this was the right time to make the plunge. So I made a few drastic decisions again in life.
Including coming to Bombay?
Yeah, I moved to Mumbai. And never in my life did I think I'd live in this city. And moved to Mumbai, and it's been, 4 years now? And I'm enjoying every minute of it. And the opportunities keep getting more and more every year, touch wood. And I would think that it's only going to get bigger and better from here.
Touching wood myself now, and I've had the chance to work with you. Let's talk about your broadcast career. This we can speak of now as as people who love to look around and watch, that nobody tells you if you're good or actually if you're bad also. Your only certificate is if you get called back enough.
True. Very true.
If you don't get called back,
correct.
Thank you very much.
So I think one of my first broadcast stints as a presenter even, I went back for feedback. And a very wise person in the same building told me, if there is no feedback, that means you've done well. Yep. So I realized that pretty soon. So Yeah, I think I've done a few stints with you on commentary and just getting my feet around presenting. I've done a few stints as an expert in English. I enjoy the analytical side of the game. I enjoyed my stints on Cricinfo with you. So the common theme to all this, Raunak, is I don't enjoy other sports too much. I love cricket too much.
Yeah.
And that's why I want to be involved around cricket. I enjoy the sport that so my daily routine is watch any sport, like any game of cricket somewhere, and to be involved in cricket is such a big blessing for me. And that's why I always don't take my job for granted. I don't want to be, it's very hard to actually be a broadcaster in this day and age, and no better than you to actually say, at least I've had the luxury of playing the sport at the highest level. For someone like you who's involved with the game on a day-to-day basis, you know how hard it is to actually take notes and be in touch with the game, with whatever is happening. I'm glad AI is coming, and I'm glad like all of this data companies are helping us. But all of this is just helping me be a part of the sport that I love. And that's what I truly enjoy. I think that's the mutual connection between you and I.
100%.
Because you enjoy the game as much as I do.
Yeah.
And I've always gotten along well in this field even to guys who actually enjoy the game a lot more than come here because of other reasons.
So this is where now I can really sort of share stories, between us also, without of course getting anyone into trouble or losing whatever professional acquaintances we've already made.
True.
Is the thing in my own very brief live broadcast career. I've been sitting in this lovely chair of Cricinfo for a while now. Is a lot of cricketers show up to broadcast with a sense of entitlement, which I believe they are entitled to have a place in the game. There will always be a place in the game for those that have played at the highest level. But sometimes the game requires more, or that job requires more. And this is where I would like to tell a story on Abhinav Mukund, on just the extreme levels of his preparation when it comes to an under-19 World Cup, when we're all effectively just, and I'm not talking about India games, it's still easier to know a little bit about India players. We're talking about non-India games, associate nation games. We did a series in Zimbabwe last year, and again the Zimbabwean team is not one that you can just at the top of your mind announce the 11 like you did perhaps in the 90s when we all watched a lot more of Zimbabwe cricket. So it takes a lot more study. I wouldn't even say a lot more study. I think it takes a bare minimum requirement, but still there are those that don't do it. But Abhi does it. Now he's got his Batman type iPad which he carries on with him. So I want to, in all seriousness, just put out there that you're someone who really works hard, and automatically that makes your, someone who works with you, just respect you immediately. Like, okay, great. This guy's putting in the work and the effort and all. Is that something that just sort of you decided that's going to be your way? Because I'm sure you look around and you have enough of your colleagues, no disrespect to them, but they just feel like, as a cricketer, and I can understand that school of thought too. I've worked with those people and they're good friends of mine as well. I don't need to. My job is, I'll see if someone's head is not right, or if someone's played a bad shot, or if someone's bowled a bad ball, and I'll be able to call that. Your job is to sit and do all the homework.
But I feel that my reading of the game gets better if I have an informed choice. That is one. And secondly, and this is no fault of any big broadcasting company, the bigger stars will always have their draw. And that's normal, right? Like, why would you want to listen to Abhinav Mukund? You'd rather listen to a Virat Kohli talking. Like, you want to hear what Virat's saying, or even an Ashwin's saying. And they get their jobs on the basis of the years that they have played. And where I can add value is if I've seen what an ex-player has done in the last year or so, and what his how he performs, or what his technique is, or what his pattern is, or what his trends are, I can make an informed choice on air. And sometimes I've realized that if you have that bit of homework, it comes out naturally on air. And you're reading the game well. And all these years of first class cricket and the captaincy experience and the years and years of looking at so many players helps me with broadcast, because I'm able to call the game and I've become more brave in doing so.
Sure.
And that's only because I'm a broadcaster. I realize guys who want coaching jobs, or guys who want to be
a little bit of
here and there, don't have that freedom to do so.
Sure.
Because they want to be involved with these guys at a certain level, And that's why I think it's a conscious choice, and it's also a need. I'm a full-time broadcaster. I better be good at my job.
So that is it's safe to say that we will see you as a broadcaster for the foreseeable future, not as potentially an IPL coach or an academy coach, COE coach, or even a selector potentially. Those positions open up quite often.
Technically, I'm not even retired, which is why I don't even play the Legends leagues and so on and so forth. Because when I stopped the game, I said I stopped the game. And now I'm a full-time broadcaster. Wherever you have gigs around the world, let me know. You and I will both go.
Lovely. Presenting is actually a unique thing for today's retired cricketers, and you're a modern day cricketer turned broadcaster. It was part of the golden generation of broadcast when Richie Benaud presented, David Gower presented. You know, and I found that clearly India, it's harder to produce a cricketer who has the skill set for broadcast. And you know, we started with this on how you study. You were such a good student that your education has come in handy at this important phase of your career. But take me through just that first time when you had to switch from this side to this side, where you suddenly start, you know, playing the role of a presenter.
God, I don't know what it is about presenting. It made me incredibly nervous as went out to bat almost. And that's, I think, the biggest pull for me as well. Because somehow when you're on live television, when you're counting down 10, 9, 8, and you're the first face on the screen, or you're the first voice on a cricket broadcast, there was something to it. And I was pushed into it actually. It did come, again it came quite naturally. It wasn't planned or anything, and then I did a few rehearsals. There were people
These
who
things sort of just happen.
Yeah, but there were a lot of people who have invested their time with me in the Geo organization back then, and then once the merger fully happened, a lot of people who kept on giving few inputs here and there, because I wasn't your traditional presenter. I was still a cricketer in my head, and I still am. So I would ask my own questions.
I think there are definitions of traditional presenters. I think you're certainly what a traditional presenter should be, and I'm just genuinely...
Yeah, maybe, but then again, we're used to a different kind of broadcast in the last 10 or 15 years, right? So if there was a follow-up I had to ask, I would ask that. And a lot of people came up to me and said, are you okay with asking the questions instead of answering them? But then there would be, there are not many things that people know where we're given run orders, and we have time slots that we need to actually keep the questions sharp. So these are things that a lot of people understand. There are editorial narratives that an organization comes with. So, but even in spite of all that, rubbing shoulders, I realized very soon that I would never be the expert or the color in an English feed. So I'm very comfortable speaking English. So why not be the presenter? And somehow it's taken me on that path.
It so turned out, and again, I'm just manifesting this for you. But when we grew up, I remember there was a time where I think it was Chappelli, and I had the pleasure of working with the great Ian Chappell. He said that for a lot of people who didn't watch Richie Benaud play, over time, you didn't even know that he played.
Correct.
You started thinking, Richie Benaud is the broadcaster, Richie Benaud is the commentator. And then actually once in a while you'll go and dig up Benaud's profile and think this guy was an incredible captain, an incredible bowler himself. And, but that identity just dissipated. The identity was that this was the face and voice of the game.
Correct.
And I wonder if you have role models, and I'm just saying that this is something that I can totally see happening to you, where people will associate you as, you know, your association with broadcast. I already know of people like that. Abhinav Mukund, yeah, he's that presenter and broadcaster.
Oh, nice.
Said he's played 7 tests as well. But I don't know. That's my feeling. I feel obligated to share that.
No, but that's exactly what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to forge a new career. So it's good that my past has helped me, but I don't want to be a cricketer on a broadcast. I want to be the broadcaster on it. So I'd rather be that. So it's okay. It's taking me to wherever it's going, and I'm doing whatever needs to be done. So let's see.
All right. Abhi, I think this has been such a wonderful conversation.
Same here, Raunak.
You know, I'm delighted that we got the chance to actually talk for this long without a beverage.
I know, but I'm delighted that you guys called me, because not a lot of people, like I said, no, you don't have too many domestic cricketors here. You're not going to have an Abhinav Mukund, just a cricketer here, right? You'd want a presenter, you'd want a broadcaster, you'd want guys who have done something in the media as well. So I'm glad you guys gave me the opportunity, but I somehow feel like
An imposter.
I want to be the flag bearer of this. I'll be the first person who came on the show.
When you speak of editorial narratives, I can share what my editor told me very young in the space here at ESPN Cricinfo. He says, we don't want stars. We want people who will add value. So if they happen to be stars, that's fine. So don't go out looking for the stars. Look for people who add value. And I can quite confidently share this now that I've been at this place for about 12 years, that Mr. Mukund, you add a lot of value. Thank you so much for being with us.
Raunak. Thank
and
you.
I wish you the very best in your broadcast career.
You too.
Going forward. And maybe have many stories to share about the same when we meet again on ESPN Cricinfo Talking Cricket.